I'm so grateful that he gave me a heart that for a long time, by the way, really screwed with a lot of parts of my life. It made me a very sensitive a kid that, you know, I would get really wrecked about certain things that would happen in the world that had nothing to do with me. And I would I would literally feel the pain of people in other parts of the world. Or, I mean, to be perfectly honest, like India, for example, I can't wait to go to India. And I'm also dreading going to India because there's a part of me that feels like I'm going to go walk around in those streets and I will be devastated because I will see these kids and these lower castes and I will be like, where is the justice? Where is the love for these people? Where's the love for the unlovable? That stuff just wrecks me. But I have always had a deep love for people. I didn't realize how much deeper I could love people. And by the way, and not even deeper, but also in healthier, more focused ways. If you're just raw love and you're just feeling, that can be powerful, but you're not perhaps accomplishing as much as you could with that love. And if you can go and then work on yourself and tighten all this and get this strong, and then not just be overwhelmed and screwed up every time something happens, then you can have more of an even, steady, focused, strong, effective love, I think, in the world. And that's where I think I'm now hopefully going into that phase of my life, coupled with wherever my platform might lead me. But but you had said something up earlier and I'm trying to remember what.
Take your time.
No. Well, I can't. What we were talking about knowing yourself, loving yourself. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll think of it if we come back to it.
And that's what I think everyone who's listening right now, I think is going to take a lot of confidence from the fact that the way you're opening up, the way you're sharing your journey and challenges and everything, I'm hoping that everyone who's listening or watching right now is listening going, oh my God, I'm there too, or I've been there too. And this is a common experience across the board. Like getting to a point in life and going, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I love myself. Like these are all such normal things that we're all going through.
Everyone.
And you reminded me when you were mentioning this point about being in your solitude in space, this study that I love that I share that talks about how when men and women were given the choice of either being alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes or give themselves an electric shock. And 60% of men chose an electric shock. And 30% of women chose an electric shock. And when they were asked afterwards, it was because they didn't want to be alone with their thoughts. So we're all in that. So now I want to dive into, everyone who's listening right now, we've all been there. We all find distractions, whether it's video games, whether it's movies, whether it's Netflix, whatever it is, we're all trying to find distractions. Relationships.
Everything. Oh my God. Relationships is one of the biggest.
Definitely. I just made a video a couple of weeks ago where I was talking about if you find someone in your loneliness, you often attract emptiness. Right? Because you've got that in you and therefore that attracts back. So I want to dive into you because meditation, prayer, and therapy are three tools that you really live by and stand by. I want to hear about each of those from you, including the self-talk element of how those key foundational principles, and you mentioned yoga and Pilates earlier too. I just want to hear about those kind of like building blocks that have helped you change and transform and grow.
I mean, so therapy to me was probably the most important initial part of it all, because you can do a lot of meditation and prayer, but if you're like in Japan, you know how in Japan there's this tradition of if a bowl breaks, they put it back together with gold, right? And you can see the veins of gold and really makes it a beautiful piece. You don't just throw the bowl away; you put it all back together. So I feel like the therapy was the gold that was putting it all, galvanizing me back together, making me whole again. And again, supplemented by and helped by the meditation and prayer around that. But if your head's not right, if you don't see reality the way that reality actually is, and therefore, and who you are and how you fit into reality, prayer and meditation are going to help treat symptoms, but I don't know that they're going to get to the root of digging up all of that bad programming, you know? Moreover, I don't mean this to be offensive to anyone. In fact, I find it to be quite inclusive. We're all mentally ill. I personally feel like mental health is something we all deal with. We all have it. we unfortunately look at mental health. If we put health with physical health, nobody has any problems talking about any of it. In fact, there's a whole broad spectrum. Physical health is anywhere, or like if you're physically ill, that can mean anything from the common cold to cancer. And if you say that I'm ill, no one's like, oh God, they're going, oh gosh, what's going on with you? There's not a stigma that's necessarily attached to that. Nobody's judging you necessarily for what's going on in your physical well-being. All of a sudden, you switch out mental for physical, and you say mental illness. And the only thing now, thank God, we're coming to a much better place in society. But for the longest time, mental illness was straitjacket, rubber room, you're crazy, that's it. Mm-hmm. We have to start reassessing that massively and understand that to be mentally ill, to use I think a dental analogy probably is the best I've come up with. All of us have cavities from time to time. Mm-hmm. All of us deal with mental illness, little cavities in our heads. And that can be literally how you start your day, and you pass somebody on the street and they did a thing and that affected you, and now you're allowing it to affect you, and now that started a little cavity in your brain, and you got to root that thing out. And for some of us, we're much better at being able to attend to that stuff. Sometimes we don't, and then that cavity becomes a much bigger cavity, and then all of a sudden you need a root canal. Some of us out there in the world, I needed a major root canal. The way that I saw myself and the way that I saw how I fit into this world needed to be rooted out of my brain big time. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I could do that, going back to the dental analogy, once the dentist could get in there and clean all that crap out and then, fix that and seal that, well, then it was a matter of maintaining that and loving myself and through all of that. And that's where I find the meditation and prayer. And I kind of, to me, prayer and meditation are kind of synonymous. My prayer time is my meditative time. Occasionally I will do actual just straight, kind of mindfulness meditation or centering prayer, which is very similar, where you either just focus on your breath or you focus on one word and you kind of have that mantra and you go through that to really just calm it all down, calm the mechanism, because we live in a world that is so go, 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 and it is completely not what our biological evolutionary kind of path has been. I mean, we were hunter-gatherers going back to like Yuval and Sapiens and stuff like that. By the way, reading that book helped me, because that context and perspective, I think, is so important in understanding who you are and how you fit into this world
and why you got there.
Exactly. So I will still have some actual meditation, like proper meditation, but my prayer time coming before the Creator and on my knees and asking to be able to walk always in humility, gratitude, and trust. Those three words are to me, the foundation and cornerstone of my entire life. And
me too.
Yeah, man.
Love that.
Yeah, man. In fact, I was thinking about getting HGT tattooed somewhere on me. I don't know. I'm still working on it. I don't have any tattoos, but I think I might at some point. But
I think that's an awesome description.
Thanks, man.
I love that. I love the dental analogy.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. And I think what you're saying is so true, that we sometimes think of meditation and prayer as the be all and end all of our transformation. Yeah. But actually, initially, it requires that step of really uprooting, really rewiring the ego, doing the work of just
killing the ego,
deepest self-reflection.
Yeah.
And meditation and prayer, of course, aid that.
Yeah.
But then they become that momentum that keeps it going, right? They're the daily cleaning. They're the daily cleansing.
And some people, by the way, are really blessed where they grow up in a household where their parents gave them a great foundation of mental health. They gave them a great foundation of knowing that they're loved completely unconditionally right? Unconditionally. Yeah.
Unconditionally. Yeah.
I was like, all of a sudden I was like, wait, what is that definition? Where it didn't matter if they, in my home, if I accidentally dropped a glass and it broke on the ground, if my mom, who, as it turned out, was a borderline personality, if my mom happened to be in a good mood, it was like, oh, that's fine, honey. If she was in a bad mood, it was the end of the world. Now, I didn't realize that every time she snapped at us and yelled at us or smacked us or whatever that was, I mean, not like smacked us, but, would give us a swat on the ass or something. Those things were all leading me to having literal trauma switches in my head, so that every time I drop a glass and break something, I beat the shit out of myself. I beat myself up when I would do that. So I needed to, those are all those little things where I needed to reprogram, literally rewire the operating system that my mom had given me when I was a kid. I needed an updated operating system. And I think that's what therapy really hopefully allows us to do. If you're born into a home where you're given a pretty good operating system, then meditation and prayer may be all you need, at least for quite some time, until you maybe have more trauma or more abuse or whatever, where you need some more help. But for me, the therapy helped to clean that, uproot that, all that. And the daily practice of going and literally falling before God and just wanting to remain in reality, knowing who I am, knowing that my worth has nothing to do with how successful I become or don't become, that there is purpose for me in this world. And that's where I think the trust part comes in. You know, if you're not a very spiritual person, or you don't believe in a creator or a higher being or whatever, perhaps you trust in something else. I don't know. For me, it's a matter of trusting that I don't have all the answers. I don't know where my journey is going to go. I don't know how I'm going to be used in this world and in this life, but I'm going to trust that as long as I keep doing this work, the only important work, that if I do this, then everything else will happen the way that it's supposed to happen. And that gives me a tremendous amount of peace throughout the journey as well.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I think you're right. I think we all need to trust timing, the process, universe.
Oh, like, my gosh.
Creator, like there, you have to find patience, right? That you've been living in your life. And I definitely know that in my life too. When I went off to become a monk at 22, and you know, the reaction from all my friends and family was, well, you're never going to get a job again. Like, you know, you're going to be years behind. And and all of those things of like, well, where's your future going to go?
Yeah.
And for me, it was, no, I trust that this is the best investment of my time, that this time that I'm going to be spending in meditation and self-growth and awareness and destruction of my ego and all of that is the best thing I could be doing right now.
Yeah.
And almost all we can do is trust the present and trust what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because we all don't know what's going to happen in 5, 10, 15 years.
No. And in fact, it's it's easy for me to say. I'm in a position now where I'm literally living in some of the most rarefied air that anyone could ever live in, to be, you know, the titular role in a superhero franchise, and this 20 years of incredibly blessed life. Like, it's not lost on me that people say, man, you know, I'm so happy for you. You really deserve it. And I'm always like, I appreciate that. And I know what you mean by the sentiment, but I actually disagree, because I don't know that anybody deserves this. I mean, look at all the incredible people that have unbelievable hearts and minds that are living in third world countries that have nothing. They deserve it. Those people are doing everything that they can just to survive. So I don't know that anybody deserves any of this, but had I known what my life was going to be like right now, a year and a half ago, before, like, if somehow, you know, the crystal ball said, oh, don't worry, you know, all the things you're worrying about right now, no, don't worry, because what's going to happen is you're going to do this and that's going to happen, blah, 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 and now you're going to be there. Well, that would have been pretty incredible. But what would have been even better is if, you know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I would have just known to trust, to be patient with where this is going, because I wouldn't change anything. A year and a half ago, there's so many things in my past, in my past, that I would have changed in order to maneuver to get somewhere that I felt like would have been a better place for my life. But now that I am where I am, where I'm sitting, I literally wouldn't have changed anything. I wouldn't have changed the trauma that my mom put me through. I wouldn't change anything about the abuse that I went through, because had I not gone through that, then I wouldn't be able to sit here literally right now talking to you, and hopefully talking to people out there and saying, you're okay, we're okay, we can get through this. This is something that we all are dealing with. It's unfortunate that abuse and trauma and mental illness are being passed down generationally, but it can be helped. It can be fixed. We can love ourselves and we can love each other. We can go make the world so groovy if we can just get this out. And I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to talk about it as deeply or as passionately or as authentically had I not gone through all of that stuff prior,
100%. I couldn't agree more.
And being patient with that,
Absolutely. I'm so glad you've driven that. I mean, you're like on fire right now, by the way. Like, as it's so great to hear you drive that message home, because I feel all of us need to be open to the plan. Like, you can get to where you want in life, just not in the way you imagine it.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, that because it doesn't look like your imagination, you don't want to walk down that road.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you want, right? You want it to look this perfect way or a certain way. And I've done that in my life, where I thought that success or happiness looked like this. And then when what I was faced with was completely the opposite, it was scary to walk down that path. And the same as what you're saying, like, I don't think we want to blame this on our parents. I don't think we want to blame it on, and I don't hear that from you at all.
Yeah.
You don't want to blame it on any of those things, because those building blocks are going to give you the journey you need to help more people too.
Hopefully.
Because this is going to be a common experience.
Yeah.
It's going to be a shared experience.
Yeah.
And you can only help someone if you've been there before.
Well, and that's why it's important, I think, that people, particularly when it comes to mental health, we need to be brave enough to be vulnerable enough with our journey and our testimony.
Well, you're doing it, man.
I appreciate that, but it's not even. I don't even feel like it's an option. It is completely like it's God. It is. I literally, like, it excites me so much that I personally have gone through what I've gone through in order to be able to go talk about this stuff, because there are so many people out there look, I see them on Twitter and on Instagram on a regular basis, people that are going through so much, that are feeling quite lost, quite alone. And that's why I spend as much time as I do on my social media, because I feel like, yes, it's on one hand, one of the most destructive things that's ever come across all of us. We get lost in it. It's creating mental illness in a lot of people, but we can use it for such powerful good, and being able to reach out and say, yes, I deal with this. I have dealt with this. And by the way, we're all dealing with it. Everyone is dealing with it. Like, no one is immune to, well, maybe the Dalai Lama. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, because this is how our brains work. This is how our hearts work.
The wiring is so old school. Right? Like, as in, it's so embedded into the way we're wired that it takes time to unwire that and unravel that. Yeah. Like, if something's happened for thousands of years, right? Yeah. It's going to take a considerable amount of time to rewire that. Yeah. It's like, you don't just unwire something. If something's been tangled in your closet for days, how long does it take? Or if your room's been messy and unclean, you just throw it out. Yeah, exactly. Which you can't do with yourself, and you don't want to do with yourself. And so, And I love how open you've been about it. A few interviews that we looked at and saw with you talking about how, comparison on social media and comparing yourself to your peers, which is such a big thing. And you were open about the fact that when your character first gets killed off in Thor, and talking about how, like, that felt like a bad moment, but actually now, with what you're getting to do, you realize that actually it was just preparing you for something much bigger.
Exactly.
Right?
This is exactly why, you're going back to what we were talking about patience and trust. Trusting that even though you might not understand or agree with what is happening in your life right now, if you're not trusting, you're flailing. That's where anger can come in. That's where doubt comes in. That's where fear comes in. That's where anxiety comes in. I didn't realize how much anxiety I dealt with probably my entire life. I didn't know that feeling that I felt on a regular basis was anxiety until I went to therapy, and I was like, oh my God, that's what anxiety, this is what I've been dealing with for so long. Had I known, like, when I was doing that last Thor, it was a bummer. I mean, I felt like I was so stoked that I made it into the superhero world, and then just to kind of, for it to do that, like, there wasn't much to do. And I was definitely feeling a little salty and a little down on myself, and a little like, okay, well, I guess that's it. I guess I'll have to pivot and figure out something else in my career, or whatever that's going to be. But again, had I known that, if anybody's like, no, Zach, don't worry about it, because you're gonna die here. But then in 2 years from now, that means that you're just going to be reborn in the DC universe. I mean, obviously that would have made me feel much better back then, but I don't think that's how life works, because if we know what is going to come, then we don't ultimately appreciate what that's going to be. We need to go through these valleys in order to appreciate those mountaintops.
100%.
And that's
and we don't grow to become that in the best way
and
either.
and you don't get the growth.
Yeah.
If you don't go through the hardship where you have to actually come to the end of yourself and trust and be patient and know that I don't know what's coming, but I'm going to be grateful for what I have and I will trust in where this path is leading me, then you don't get the growth. And the growth is the most important part. You could become the biggest, most famous, most rich person in the world, but if you have not grown during any of that, then all of it's meaningless. I want to be, you said earlier, I love the alliteration. I don't know if you use it when you start every interview, but what was it? Enlightened, enlivened, and there was another word you said it. I can't remember.
Educated or empowered?
Educated, yeah, all of educated and empowered. All of those things. That is the real richness, the riches of life. Like I again, I know it might even sound a little trite, somebody in my position saying like, it's not about the fame or the popularity or whatever, because I'm somebody who now has that and has had that and has done very well financially in my life. And I'm not saying, and I'd give it all up if I could, but in some ways, yeah, I suppose I would. In some ways, there's deep down in me to know the depth of the joy and the peace and the gratitude that I feel now on the other side of the darkness because of the darkness. Yeah. If I didn't experience that darkness, if I didn't ever sit in my room literally crying out to God to help me, to save me, to show me the way because I was so lost, what I feel today, I wouldn't be feeling. You get to the place, and it's not even the destination. I mean, because it's still the journey. We're still journeying. And by the way, who knows? I could walk out of here and get hit by a car, and that's it. I could live 10. Well, yeah, I mean, neither. But I mean, I think it's important to always be aware that, I think that we are both infinitely valuable and entirely unimportant. Yeah,
if
that makes any sense.
Invaluable and insignificant.
Exactly. And if we can always maintain that and know that right now, right here is all we actually have, and to keep digging into the depth of the right here and the right now, which is why one of the reasons I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation, because this is a right here, right now. Let's be present and let's talk about what really matters. I can go talk about Shazam all day long, and I'm grateful that we got to make an incredible movie that is really genuinely bringing people so much joy. But that's all the trappings of what the most important stuff is, which is let's go heal the world. Let's go make this place, let's go teach more empathy. Let's go feel more empathy. And you were talking about earlier about, the knowing how much more deeply we can love someone when we know someone. I mean, that's empathy. Oh God, I just,
I love it.
It's the best.
I love it. We always do a final 5 at the end of every interview.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I do want to talk about Shazam, because what I loved is you were talking about how you felt like you got to play yourself.
In some ways,
of the childlike, man-child element to the role and character. I'm excited to go and see it this week.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. But tell me about that playful aspect of you and that joy that people are going to feel through you being able to be part of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always been, like I said, like a super energetic spaz of a kid, and that's never really left me. And when I was about 4, I realized that I could intentionally make somebody laugh, and if they laughed, they felt good, and that made me feel good. Even aside from the applause or whatever, I loved making people feel joy. I loved it. It's the greatest drug in the world. And I feel like, genuinely, like when I do Broadway or whatever, like I feel like I'm literally living out my purpose. And when you feel like you're living out your purpose, it is the most fulfilling thing ever, more than anything. So, but part of that, you know, and I think also just part of working in this business, you get to hopefully use your imagination and should use your imagination. And I have always tried to hold on to that. I've always tried to hold on to joy. I love feeling joy. I love bringing joy. I love having a great time. I love hosting parties. I like dance parties. I like singing. I like karaoke. I like riding motorcycles and jumping out of planes. I mean, this is just my personality. It's always been, and all of those things, you know, I think I've tried to grow up and be a responsible human being in the ways that's important, but I've also, you know, kind of shirked some of that stuff where I feel like people tend to feel like, you know, well, we got to take this more seriously, or we got to take, or rather take ourselves more seriously, which I think we need to do far less of. We need to take ourselves far less seriously. And so all of those things I think have, I don't know, helped kind of protect the little kid in me. Yeah. And by the way, and maybe even some of my mental illness that I'm so grateful to God that even all of that bad stuff he used, or she or it or whatever used to maintain this essence of who I am deep down inside. And all of that, I just got to filter right into the character. I mean, on top of the fact that ever since I was a kid, I dreamt about being a superhero, like I think most of us do. I mean, all of us, so it's total wish fulfillment. Like, you know, I feel bad for a lot of the actors who play the serious superheroes, which, by the way, most of them are. Most of them are very serious adults who are concerned with saving the world. And so
which is you in real life.
Exactly, right? Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I know that Christian Bale was probably super chuffed that he got to be Batman, but he had to sit on it. He had to he was like, oh my God, I get to be Batman. And then the cameras were rolling. He's like, I'm Batman. Yeah. You know, I got to, you know, literally not rein myself in at all. All that enthusiasm that I felt for like, oh my God, I'm getting this dream job. Yeah. I just got to, you know, put that right into the character onto the screen. Plus hanging out with the kids, which we have a whole incredible and talented cast of kids and that I worked with all the time. And they would constantly remind me what it meant to be a kid, which in a lot of ways is just not having responsibility. They're able to still be silly and not take themselves so seriously until they start getting into like high school years. And then all of a sudden it's all about clicks and cool and all that garbage that, oh my God, I can't wait to maybe do a school tour one day and go to high schools and say, stop, don't care about social constructs anymore. Stop it. Go do all the homework, do all the things that your parents and your teachers are asking you to do. There's a whole life beyond high school. It's all just one big bubble. It's going to blow up. You're never going to see those people again. Oh my gosh, there's so much time that we waste wishing that we were a part of whatever this cool clique is. And by the way, even that, I want to redefine the word cool. Cool. All the people that think they're cool or are trying to be cool are the least cool. Being cool means you're trusting. Being cool means you're not fazed. You're not worried about fitting in. Let's go be actually cool. Let's not go try and be like, oh, I need to wear the right clothes or I need to have the right style or whatever that is. That's all nonsense. I can't. I want all that to die a horrible death. I love that. Yeah, for real. But yeah, so on top of all that, yeah, just like, you know, getting to be that kid and bring that kid to life on screen is a lot of fun. But I really, again, like the movie's done well, and I'm really grateful that it's doing well, not even just domestically, but internationally and all that. But the thing I'm most proud of in this film and the thing I'm most grateful for is that I believe that, you know, again, God is using me to portray a character that is bringing people joy. People are leaving the theater and they are floating a foot off the ground. Kids and adults are yelling Shazam as they're leaving the theater and feeling that imagination come back to life in them again. And if what I believe is true, which is that I was put on this planet to love people and to bring them joy, and that this is what is now happening in my life, like I just gratitude, just like the deepest gratitude, man.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And hearing you say that reminds me of something I read a while ago. I think it went along, I want to get this right. It went along the lines of, we don't stop playing because we get old. We get old because we stop playing.
Yes.
And I think whatever play means to you as you get older, obviously you may not be messing around with action figures, maybe you are, but the point is of continuously having play in our lives and being playful and being childlike, not childish.
Yes.
And we see a lot of humans, we continue to be childish, but not childlike.
Yes.
And I think keeping that fresh eyes, looking at things as brand new, living as if every day is just some new exploration and curiosity. that can stay with us. So I love this, man. I'm going to ask you my big final 5 questions.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
These are rapid fire, quick fire answers. So, I mean, you'd be great at that. So here we go. The first one that I have for you is, this is probably a slightly trick question, but I want to know anyway. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation.
Oh, interesting.
I've thought a lot about this.
Okay.
I think teleportation, it would be a very fun, but also probably the most handy and practical, because you can do anything from, going on a trip with all of your friends. We all know from the lore of comic books that whatever you're touching goes with you with teleportation. So obviously, as long as you can connect like all your fingers and toes to a bunch of bags and a bunch of friends and family, then you're all on a vacation together, which would be great. Or if you're just feeling lazy and you want to zap like from your bed into the bathroom and then back again, you know what I mean? It's very handy.
Awesome. Second question. You were saying you're even thinking about building like a commune, a space.
Yeah.
If the world, if your ideal world, ideal community, ideal town or city had a set of ideals, values, and beliefs and habits, what would those be?
Ooh. Well, minimalism. That's one of the things. I am a huge proponent of minimalism. I think that we've all been fed a lie for a really long time, which ties directly into consumerism and materialism. And I really do believe it's a lie. We don't need all the things that we think that we need. And we are now owned by what we own. And that is another thing that's leading us into more mental health issues. And I want to get back to basics. So it'd be community, it'd be minimalism, it would be love and grace and tolerance and understanding and forgiveness, and more forgiveness and more forgiveness and more grace, because these are seriously lacking in the world right now, and empathy and more empathy. And just helping people heal.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. If you could get the world to practice one habit or one tool for 30 days, what would that habit
Gratitude.
be? Gratitude. Nice. I like that. That's awesome. Yeah. I think that could change a lot too.
I mean, it's, again, I know it's different for everyone in every place that they're in their life. And I don't expect everyone to have as easy a time being grateful for where you are in your life. But I, from my own personal experience, to start with that, if you can get there, it helps to put other things into place, and then it makes a lot of your life a lot easier.
I love it. Question 4 out of 5. What's one big thing you want to learn this year? Anything you want to learn? Something new you want to learn?
Well, I at New Year, I was on a trip with a bunch of friends, and we were all, on New Year's Eve, we were all talking about what was, if you could have one word that described your last year, what would it be? And to be perfectly honest, I think transformation was last year's, because it was an incredibly transformative time for me. But then, and what would be one word for the next year? And the word that I chose was patience. So, and then my friend actually made me this bracelet, which is Morse code, that says forgiveness, or says patience on it. And I think that's what I want to continue to learn this year, because I've always been a super deep forward thinker of like future thinking, and like, I want to go build this film studio and all the things that go with it. And I see it all in my head, and I want it now. I want it to be right now, because I want to be enjoying it right now. And I want all of my friends and family and strangers and everybody to be enjoying it right now. And I have to know that it's not up to me. This timing is not up to me. Your timing of your life is not up to you. We get to play a part in it, and a very significant part in that. But there are so many other factors that are going on. And so I really want to learn to just be more patient in this life. Yeah.
I love that. And the final fifth question, what's an ideal role or collaboration for you in the future? Something that you'd love to have.
Man.
Could be in any area.
So many. So many. I don't know. I mean, from an acting standpoint, I mean, there's so many directors and other actors that I would love to work with. And, so I don't know. Working with Tom Hanks, I think would be pretty amazing. He's always been my idol, since I was a kid. And to that matter, Steven Spielberg, working for him as. The director, but outside of the acting world, I do want to start recording more music. I don't know with whom or how that's going to work out, but then beyond that, I really do want to somehow figure out how to parlay all of this stuff into more of a leadership role in helping the world heal. That's the collaboration that I really want to figure out, and the trajectory that I really want to figure out. And again, I'm just going to wait on God and be patient for what that is going to look like. But
we should work on that together too.
I would love to. Jay Shetty, we're going to do it. It's going to happen.
When you say it like that, it feels like it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, man. But dude, no, I would love that. I would love that.
No, but thank you, Zach. Like, honestly, you really brought it today. Like, the energy, this man is like, I'm sitting in front of him, he's sweating. Like, he's like literally
I'm sweating.
Like, he's literally given like every ounce of his
partly
energy.
The coffee.
Yeah. No, he's literally put every ounce of his energy into this podcast. So everyone who's listening, make sure you share this. Make sure you share what you've learned. Tag Zach, tag me as well on Instagram. I love seeing what people took away. I love seeing what messages are the ones that really resonate with people. So if you are listening to this right now, make sure you put it on Instagram. Would love to check you out there as well. Zach, thank you so much for turning up. Thank you so much for showing up. Keep doing what you're doing on Instagram, using it as a platform for service, everything that you're doing. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
And I'm excited for our new friendship too.
Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself, love others. You are lovable, you are loved, and you are worthy of that love.
I love it. That's Zachary Levi.